Welcome to Bigger Than You, the podcast to help you go from overwhelm, self-doubt and scarcity in your business to the calm, grounded and unshakably confident version of you that's going to bring your vision to life. You've got a mission and a purpose that's bigger than you and your limiting stories and beliefs. So let's get you out of your own way. I'm Jenna Holloway, your host and multi-award-winning intuitive hypnotherapist and mindset coach. Expect to hear game-changing perspective shifts on how to align your subconscious mind with your boldest goals, and will unlock the power of energetics, infusing it into every aspect of your life and business for maximum impact. Are you ready? Then let's dive in. Hello, thank you so much for joining me again. I am excited to record this episode for you because something kicked off. That sounds very inflammatory, doesn't it? It really wasn't. You'll see why in a bit. But something happened a couple of days ago in my business, and it was the coolest thing to reflect on. And I knew what I'm about to say was the case anyway, but it really dropped in that I have a podcast episode to record on this because I was going to say I'm very lucky. I don't think luck is the right word. It's not. It's down to the work I've done on myself. But I feel very blessed that the quality, the type of clients that I attract into my world feels so good to work with. They are super self-led. They are empowered. They show up for themselves. There's no victim mentality. And from my perspective of somebody who gets to work with these people, it just makes it the most enjoyable job. Like, I love it so much. And I feel so blessed. And actually, something else dropped in about a week or so ago, which it's been maybe getting on 3 years now. I don't know for sure, but it's been a while since I was teaching. I used to be a secondary languages teacher, in case you didn't know. And yeah, I left a few years ago, and it dropped in for me recently, this reflection about why I left. And when I decided, so the reason for leaving, I had just become a mum to my twin girls after a really long infertility journey. And I went back after maternity leave, and I knew straight away, I could just sense that this was no longer the job for me. And that's coming from somebody who was the keenest teacher you will ever find. Like, when I first started my teaching career, I was such a keen bean. And I thought that I would be a teacher for life because I just felt that that's what I was here to do. Roll on a few years down the line, past the infertility journey, and I'm walking back into the school after maternity leave, and I just could sense, like, I didn't think I was intuitive back then, all of the way that I lead my life now with intuition, it just wasn't a thing back then. But I did sense it. It felt off, and I just knew that there was something else for me. And looking back, I mean, I've had this conversation with loads of people in my life since about why I left teaching. And it was because I wasn't willing to feel like I was not doing a great job in teaching anymore, because I used to put my heart and soul into it. And now my priorities and my feelings had changed once my girls had come along. I just didn't want to be there, but I also wasn't available for settling, for not feeling like I was doing the best job that I could. But if I was going to do the best job I could, that would have meant working more on my days off, and not being fully in the mum life. I'd waited so long to get those girls that I was not willing to settle and feeling like that. And so that shift in energy led to where I am today. At that moment, I was like, I'm no longer available for this. There's something better. I want to feel lit up by the work that I do. And I don't, there's loads of different things that I wasn't happy with about teaching, but this is not the episode or the time for that. But essentially, I'm just reflecting on this idea that years ago, I decided I wasn't available for settling. And so I now have this dream business, and it's down to the fact that I decided not to settle. And so, question for you to reflect on before we get into this episode is, where are you settling in your business? And what are you no longer available for tolerating in your business? couple of questions you might like to ponder and journal on. But let's get into it then. So, yeah, I feel very, very blessed that my clients are amazing, but it's not luck. It's down to the things I'm going to share with you in this episode. And it might be quite hard to hear this episode because it might be a bit of a bitter pill to swallow, but please do listen from an empowered place, because we can only change what we're aware of, right? And so, what I say in this episode, I say with so much love to help you see a different way, to help you see that it is totally possible. If you are struggling with the things that I'm going to share, if you're struggling and you're in the thick of that right now, it is totally available for you to completely experience a very different feeling, energy, and experience in your business, the way I feel in mine. So, if you currently have a client or multiple clients, or have had a client in the past that drains you, that feels misaligned, and creates a lot of resistance for you, then it's hard going. It really is hard going on you in that moment when you have that. And if you, as you're listening, you've experienced this in the past but not now, that obviously is great. But having spoken to clients and worked through the I won't say residue, like the overhang, the hangover of that experience in the past, that 100% can hang on energetically and subconsciously as a fear moving forwards in your business. And so, yeah, there's multiple ways in the way this shows up, but it can, if you've got a current client that drains your energy, you'll find that you dread them showing up to a call, or you dread the part, if it's a group program, you'll dread the part where you go to them. Or if it's a one-to-one call, you absolutely dread the call and you're like, oh, I'd rather watch paint dry or whatever. Or you might feel a massive resistance if you see a Voxer voice note from them, or an email or whatever. You might feel massive resistance, an anxious energy to open that message or email. You might even feel resentful that you're working so hard for your clients and they don't seem to appreciate it. And they just take, take, take. What we're talking about here is essentially clients in victimhood, right? If you've experienced one, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And there's this, if you've got a client that's in victimhood, it's almost like the energy is that you owe them something, and it shouldn't be that way at all. And because energy can't be compartmentalized, unfortunately, you feel this spread out through your entire business. And it affects everything. It affects how you feel showing up. It affects your content creation. It can affect how inspired you feel, like you just lack that inspiration that you once had. It can affect the whole energy around your entire business, like you just don't want to show up because energetically you are blocked from attracting new clients into your world because of this subconscious fear, or even conscious fear, that what if you get another one like that? How are you going to handle that? Your subconscious doesn't want you to experience that again. So it's going to protect you from that risk, that potential experience. When we know that it doesn't have to be that way and we can change things. But unfortunately, even if we want to carry on showing up for ourselves, and even if intellectually we know that it's very unlikely, because looking back, there were red flags and you ignored them and you took the client on, intellectually you can think these things and decide, right, I'm not going to let it hold me back moving forwards. But your subconscious has pretty much full control, and it will create that resistance and it will create that heavy energy in your business, which just feels so draining. So the issue is that it's not one client that drains you, that you can compartmentalize. It spreads out and seeps like a bad apple, affecting everything. It spreads, and it feels horrible talking about this, but I feel like I really need to talk about this, to share this. It's not nice. If you're experiencing that, you'll know exactly what I mean right now, and it feels heavy. Just know that you are not alone. There are other people experiencing this, and I have coached people who, when they came to me, this was their reality, and it no longer is. Okay. So I see you, and I want you to know that it's okay and that you have done nothing wrong and that you are amazing at what you do, and to try not to let this fear and this doubt show overshadow everything. I know it's going to make you doubt yourself way more, like how you actually coach, even your dream clients. You feel nervous when you know that you didn't used to feel nervous. So, like, what the hell is going on? It makes you doubt yourself, how you show up in your content, and this self-doubt that maybe never was a problem in the past suddenly gets magnified to the extent where you can stunt the growth of your entire business. And I've even coached clients through them questioning their whole decision as to whether they're even cut out to be doing the work that they're doing, simply down to the fact that they had one misaligned client. Like, the fear and the effect of this, like, cannot be underestimated. And so if this is hitting home right now, like, please know that you're not alone. And I trust that if you're in my world, you are also incredible at what you do. Do not doubt yourself. I speak to you in exactly the same way as that I speak to my clients inside my program. So I will say what I want to say and what wants to come through right now. You're amazing at what you do, so you shouldn't be entertaining whether you're cut out to be doing it or not. 100% you're cut out to be doing what you're doing. It's just the fact that you unfortunately have a misaligned client. So let's talk about, how do we get past this? How do we remove that negative impact on your business so that you can continue to thrive again? And where do I go from this? Let me think. I want to share a story right now. This is where this whole episode came through, this the inspiration for this. And I have this client's blessing to talk about this. It's something that's literally happened over the past couple of days. And I messaged her just now to, basically get her permission to share this on the podcast because it's so incredibly powerful, a story. And when I asked her, she messaged back and she was like, "Do you know what? I'd already thought that this would make an excellent podcast episode because she wants me to share and talk about this because obviously it's going to help her understand what it was like from my perspective, but it's gonna, it feels like it needs to come through on the podcast too." And she was aware of that. So shout out to you as you're listening. I know you will be. So much love to you. Okay, let me talk about this story then. So this client of mine, and as I said, every single one of my clients are the most dreamy, self-led clients. I adore them. It makes me feel so grateful for the work that I do, and to get up in the morning and do this job. This is my life, and I feel so blessed. This client, she messaged me to ask if she could change the format that she was working with me in. She only had 1 month left of us working together. She's come so far since we first started working together. And when I received this message with this request to change formats, I checked in with myself, as I always would before deciding what to do. I check in with myself and I make sure what I'm about to say is aligned. There is never, ever any people pleasing behavior going on from me. So I checked in with myself. Would this decision be aligned? And it felt good. So it was a yes. I was happy to let her change format. She then was super grateful that I said, yes, we can change formats. But then she then messaged me to say that she's loved working with me and that I have helped her so much. She's come so far, blah, blah, blah. Love my work. That I've taught, amongst one of the things that I've taught her to speak her truth. And here she was showing up for herself and doing that. And what came next was she was basically asking to lovingly fly the nest and not pay the final installment or do the last month of work together, because she felt that she got what she needed. And speaking her truth, can she say thanks and goodbye? Here's what happened next. I felt calm and grounded reading this response. It did not send my body into fight or flight. And I recognize that. And every time I experience a challenging situation or potentially challenging situation, in my business, I take a moment to just recognize how grateful I am for the work I've done on myself, because, like, you can't stop challenges happening in your business, right? But if you can get to a place where nothing rocks you, like your nervous system, that is a very grounded, safe, steady place to run your business from. And it's from that place that you can hold boundaries lovingly and you can get the best from your clients. Okay. I did not feel the need to fold or to people please or anything. And unfortunately, if you do have that going on, it can affect your client results. I'm going off tangent a little bit from what I plan to talk about. So I'm pretty sure I have, yeah, I know I've talked about that. Well, I've just started to talk about affecting client results. I've talked about that before in the boundaries episode. So if you want to hear a bit more about that, head over after this to listen to the fairly recent episode on client boundaries, or not client boundaries, just boundaries in general, how to up level your boundaries, I think it was called. Okay, so yeah, I felt calm and grounded reading this response. It didn't send me into fight or flight or nervous energy or anything like that. I knew that this message was coming from a fearful place. Like, I know every single one of my clients really, really well. And so I could see what was going on here. And it was late afternoon by this point anyway, so I chose not to respond. I decided I would draft a response in the morning and send it over then. And my draft response said something along the lines of, "It's great that you're speaking your truth, but let's not confuse this for professional commitment to having signed a contract." And something like, "I know there's work left for us to do." Can't remember. Like, but basically calling her out on like this limiting belief that this is why she wants to leave early. Like, actually, this is a limiting belief here. Can't remember how I ended the message, but in the end, I didn't even get to send that message because the most incredible thing happened before I had the chance to send it. I was busy getting the girls ready, taking them to school. Like, I don't do any client work before my girls are dropped off at school and I'm home and I've put a wash on. I've like, you know, done a little bit of stuff for myself in the house, and then I will, check into work. So I hadn't had the time yet, hadn't had the chance yet to send that message, but I had one waiting for me. I had another message from her, and this message was incredible. She had had a revelation, and the revelation was that her fearful subconscious was trying to protect her by telling her that she'd done all the work she needed to. But overnight, she had this realization actually that revealed a massive limiting belief that hadn't popped up for her before. When we do healing work and when we do this inner work, it all comes in layers. So we get the next layer when we're ready for it. So all the work that we've done together, and believe me, this client has come so far, this new limiting belief was ready to be felt and seen. And she didn't need me to point this out to her. She recognized this herself. And that's another huge benefit to doing this inner work, is your level of self-awareness skyrockets. And so my clients are able to follow the higher self system, notice resistance, and spot and feel into what their own limiting beliefs are. They get so empowered with their own inner work that it just magnifies the momentum that we have together, because I coach and teach how to do this work effectively so that it's not all coming from me. They're doing the work themselves too. And that's how I get the incredible results that I do. But yeah, so she had this realization overnight that she's got this limiting belief that she wasn't aware of before. I recognized it and I was about to call her out on it, but I didn't get the chance. She messaged me this beforehand, like before I sent the reply. She apologized for, basically, like, she also recognized that she had a commitment and that she apologized for having, even requested it because of the professional commitment and everything. And she said she would love to reconsider the offer that I'd said yes to. And so, firstly, I am so proud of the way that she held herself and, just was so self led there. So proud of that. But this is a big but. I'm not surprised. This is the caliber of clients that I attract into my world, they're self-led, they become self-aware in the work that we do, and they definitely don't show up in victim mode, and they own their stuff. Now, if I hadn't have done the work on myself that I have and that I now teach and pass on to my Powerhouse Portal clients and my one-to-one clients, I would have received that message and totally freaked the fuck out. I would have been worried about losing the payment. I would have worried about how to respond. Like, the brave, bold me would have wanted to say one thing, but I 100% would have been people pleasing and, just scared of all the what ifs, because the subconscious, when it detects that risk and we don't feel safe, the subconscious will magnify that risk to protect us, right? So the risk might have been something like, what if she goes and, you know, I'll say shit talks. That's totally the wrong phrase to use. But what if she goes and bad mouths me? What if she goes and bad mouths me online? Like, obviously, I know my clients that would never ever happen. But the subconscious is irrational, right? That fear-based part of our brain that will magnify the risk. It doesn't care about all of our goals and our dreams and everything. It just wants to keep us safe. So it's going to magnify those risks. And then I'd start to worry about if this might happen again in the future. And just this, like, even as I'm talking about this, I can feel this energy of fear coming over. But that 100% wasn't the case. Okay. And it wasn't the case because I've done this work on myself. And this is why I do this work now with my clients. I used to not work with business owner clients, and now I do, because I've had this massive transformation in myself and how I feel and show up and exist, and how my business is and how I run it and how that fits into my life. Like, complete 180 game changing experience. And as I've evolved in my business, this pivot dropped in for me a little bit over a year ago, that my calling is to share this with other business owners now. So that was the reason for my pivot, because I've experienced what it's like before, and it just, the transformation is incredible. The level of freedom that you can feel when you create this rock solid confidence, grounded, calm energy in yourself, that you can have any challenge show up for you in your business, and you 100% trust yourself and back yourself to get through it with the best possible outcome. Then not only does it massively improve your client results, I'll talk a bit more about that in a minute, but it also just means that you have complete mental and emotional freedom to just be present and live your life and feel abundant and all the things. Like, it honestly, like, I am so fulfilled in the work that I do because I am the full embodiment of it. And it's the inner work that I do and I help my clients with that is at the root of everything here. It's the subconscious work that I've done on myself to get to the place where I carry myself so much differently now. Okay. And we all read each other's non-verbal communication, and our subconscious is living life for us, right? We're acting on autopilot most of the time. So how this matters in terms of how you show up for your clients, but also your potential clients in your content as well. Our subconsciouses are deciding for us what action to take all the time, right? And we're not in a vacuum. So when we show up with the subconscious programming that we have, we communicate that through our energy and through our nonverbal communication. And I think the best way to describe what I'm trying to get at here is you get what you're available for. So prior to doing this inner work, if you are available for clients who show up in victimhood, if you're available for people messaging you trying to back out of the program, or if you're available for clients who just do not show up for themselves and don't put the work in, or if you have a ton of money mindset work to do, which means that your prices, your, like, what you're charging isn't high enough to get clients who are fully energetically committed because they have paid a higher price, then it's very, very heavy. Okay. And it doesn't have to be that way. And so when we do this subconscious reprogramming and get rid of these unhelpful limiting beliefs, it means that you carry yourself differently. What's being communicated in all of your nonverbal communication is being received by your audience and by people on your discovery calls and by people who are already working with you. And the way they show up for themselves and the decisions that they make are 100% influenced. And it's all on a subconscious level because we are always reading each other's non-verbal communication and subconsciously deciding the actions to take based on that. Okay. And I think a way for me to give an example that you will hopefully definitely resonate with is to think back to when you were at school, secondary school, and you had a different teacher for each subject. Do you remember doing stuff in some classes that you absolutely wouldn't do in other classes? Like, even if you were the biggest goody two shoes, you may have passed a note in one teacher's class, but would never have dreamt of doing it in another. Okay? And that's because you knew what you could get away with. You knew what the boundaries were. You knew how to behave with each different teacher because of that nonverbal communication and because of that nonverbal energy that that teacher was carrying themselves with. Okay? And that's not just a school thing. That is human nature. That's the lesson in boundaries right there. Again, I'm plugging the boundaries episode because it's a good one. They're all good, but I mean, it's super relevant. So when you do this subconscious work to shift how you feel about yourself internally, then what you are no longer available for tolerating gets to be so easy. It's not even a case of upholding your boundaries anymore. They just don't even get pushed. Like, it's so hard to describe how passionate I am about this because of my experience now versus my experience way back before I did this work on myself. And all of the issues that I've seen other coaches struggle with, like when I've been inside a group coaching container as a client myself. I was in one for 18 months and I just didn't experience the shit that other people were dealing with week in, week out. And it's because I've done this inner work. Okay, that rock solid confidence that shows up in your non-verbal communication, that comes from within. And it can't be faked because we're energy and we feel each other's energy subconsciously. Whether you think you can or not, it doesn't matter. You're doing it all the time. Your subconscious is doing it for you. Okay. And the other thing I'd love to add around this is your perception that you hold of your clients matters as well. Okay. And this, again, will come out in your energy and also in your content too. And it matters so much because who you attract into your world matters, obviously. You want to be attracting the aligned clients. So this is why I'm going to make this point so that you can reflect on your own perception. So, do you expect the best from your clients? Like, check in with yourself and the perception that you have of what is possible for your clients. And could you expect more from them? Could you raise your perception about what is possible for your clients and the results that they could get? Because if you have low expectations, that when I do the subconscious work inside my containers, quite often that comes from a subconscious fear of not being good enough. Okay? So when you do this work, you feel good about setting that bar high and your results improve because your results start in your mind with the perception of your clients, and that is then non-verbally communicated. And honestly, it's incredible. So much of your clients' results comes from perception, not their perception, your perception, because your perception will be mirrored by them. I'm not sure if mirrored is the right term, but your perception will be received by them subconsciously. They will be picking up on that energy and what you believe is possible for them, and they will rise to that. It's so powerful. I cannot express this enough. And I've experienced this in, like, my teaching career stands me in such good stead for a lot of the work that I do now. And my experience as a classroom teacher, getting some results year on year that was among the best in the school, I put it down to this, apart from the fact that I was a keen bean teacher. But like, seriously, it was about my perception of those kids in front of me. It doesn't matter. It didn't matter to me what their background was or what other people thought of so and so student. Like, had some really unkind things about different kids that had chosen my subject. I was a languages teacher, so we're talking about a GCSE class here, right? And it didn't matter what they were coming to me with or what they believed about themselves. It didn't matter, because my perception of what was possible for them was way, way higher than what they felt about themselves. And that mattered so much, because they felt that. They felt that I believed in them. And therefore, they started to believe in themselves more. Okay, and it's way more significant in the classroom, obviously, because we're dealing with kids, but it matters so much too in this space. If you are a coach or a service provider, and there is room for you to raise the bar on the perception of what is available, what is possible for your clients when they come to work with you, then please do yourself a favor and raise that bar, because it matters, because the nonverbal communication is being received by them. All right. So you do not have to settle. And that, I think, is the message that I really want to kind of finish on. You don't have to settle. You can have the very best clients, like the dreamiest clients, and you can have the best business that makes you wake up in the morning feeling so free and so grateful. Like, you get to have that. That's possible for you. But it's absolutely the inner work that's going to support you to change your external reality from within. Okay? Because when your subconscious programming changes, so what your subconscious is looking out for changes. And it's looking for evidence to back up what it believes to be true. Okay, so if your subconscious is reprogrammed to success with ease, and I deserve to work with the dreamiest clients, and I get to be paid so well for what I do, and all the things that you would love to feel, we can literally program that into your subconscious, and then your subconscious starts to look for the evidence of that, and that is how you manifest, and that is how you change your external reality. Okay, remember, your subconscious is driving 95% of your behavior. So you want that subconscious on board. You want it working for you rather than against you. Okay, if you want ease, if you want flow, if you want freedom and fun, like, this truly is the most important work you can do as an entrepreneur. Okay, so having listened to all that, if you want help with this is exactly what I do with my clients. And I have a 6-month group coaching program called Powerhouse Portal, with subconscious reprogramming at the very heart of that. And also I have a 1-month, 3-month, and 6-month one-to-one mentorship containers right now. So if you are ready to experience a change and you just want to feel energized and free in your business and get that dream feeling and dream results and everything that you desire and see in your mind's eye, but you're not creating that, if you want to experience that, then the link is in the show notes for you to apply. Just pop that in, say that this podcast episode has resonated for you and that you are ready, and let's chat. I'd love to support you to change how you're feeling right now. I would so love to help you experience what my clients are already experiencing and what life is like, because it's amazing to be on this end of it, having experienced the hard, heavy, draining energy and the effect of that. Honestly, it's just the most incredible thing. So I will leave that with you. Thank you so much for listening. Hope you enjoyed today's episode, and I will see you next time. Thank you for listening to the Bigger Than You podcast with your host, Jenna Holloway. If this episode has been valuable to you, please share it with a friend or leave a review.